Hi, everyone. I have reviewed your portfolios and read your discussion board posts and have posted feedback in the rubric for your review. I want to remind you that your portfolio is a progressive assignment. There's 3 parts to it. And as you move through each part, each time you're going to need to submit your portfolio in Blackboard so that I can view it and I can grade it. I also want to tell you that when you go through your feedback, you're going to see feedback from me in sections where you lost no points. And those are just comments or suggestions for ways to improve the appearance of a document or the way something is worded. I put more comments related to resumes than probably anything else. Those are personal decisions as to whether you want to take my comments and apply them to change for your work that's existing. If you didn't lose any points and it was okay the way it was, you don't have to do anything except move forward. If you lost points on formatting or style or use of the technology, I want you to go back in and make appropriate changes so that when you are done and you've finished part 3, the entire portfolio is representative of your best work. Revisions aren't going to change your grade. I'm not going to chase you if you don't do it, but I will tell you that if you choose to use the Blackboard portfolio when you're done and ready to graduate, it's going to be easier to make those appropriate changes throughout your document as you go forward, instead of at the very end you decide you would like to use it as a tool either for applying for a job or using for promotion within your organization, and you've got areas that need improvement. So know that the feedback is there, and I would encourage you to apply it as appropriate. If you've missed points, there's some gaps in your work, and again, those things really should be corrected. When you are in your resume, some general comments. Go through your resume and make sure that you're not using abbreviations, mnemonics, or alphabet soup that don't have meanings to the general population. If you have a certification that's unique to orthopedic nursing. If I'm not an orthopedic nurse, but I happen to be looking at your resume, I may not know the value of an abbreviated certification because you haven't spelled it out. You don't have to write out every abbreviation in your resume. It's not an APA thing. It's more about making sure that your reader understands the meaning of what you have written. So that's an area that I saw lots of people using because you're very familiar with your own taxonomy that goes with your own professional specialty. Know that the person reading it may not be as familiar, and normally the first person that reads your resume is a human resource specialist, and they are really unfamiliar with medical and nursing jargon. So be aware that that's an area for improvement. Another thing that I would recommend when you're reviewing your resume is consider putting an objective at the beginning of your resume. Again, it's not required, but it does give a framework for when someone is reading your resume, what is the purpose of you having that resume? Is it for promotion? Is it for applying for a position within your own organization? Is it for a position that's outside your organization that may even be a completely different type of position than what you've done? It's important to give that consideration. Again, it's not one of those requirement things. It's just a best practice. After your objective, if you choose to use one, you want to put the things on your resume first and foremost on that page that are going to get an employer or committee's attention. Most of the time for us, especially because we're experienced nurses, it's our work experience. So if you've organized your resume in a way that doesn't have either your education or your work experience first, I'd encourage you to consider revising that. It is great to have all of your certifications, your licensures, any awards or scholarship. All of those are great to have on a resume. But I want to remind you that most of the time when someone is looking to hire you or looking to promote you, they're looking at what you're doing with your practice. They're assuming that you have active licenses and that you've been certified in some areas. They want to know what you've been up to. And the idea is to capture the attention of the person reading your resume first and foremost. By the time they get to the second and third page of your resume, many nurse leaders are just flipping through to spot check things. You have their attention most on the first page. And that's where you want the really important details, that kind of your wow statements of how fabulous are you, that needs to be on the first page. I think that's about it for the resume. One thing that I have noticed, and I'm not sure whether I commented on this last week, is whenever you're writing, whether it's a discussion board or in a paper, we know that we want, because we are a Christian organization, and we are, our prayer is that you will practice as a Christian nurse educator, that you understand the importance of biblical integration within your body of work. I want to encourage you to do more than to type in a verse at the end of a paragraph and feel like you've checked the box on biblical integration. You need to be able to tell me why the Bible verse matters. And I will encourage you that if you're going to directly cite the Bible, which is an okay format, you need to embed that verse in a sentence. The Bible says, the book of Corinthians says, in chapter this and this, the Bible says. Give me some detail and put your verse in the context of a sentence. And it's even better if you can read that verse, you can summarize it, you can pray over it, and you can write in your own words what that verse means in lieu of just directly citing it. One of your classmates did a fantastic job of this in the discussion board assignment, which I want to pause and tell you. So many of you talked about how complicated this topic was, and I can't remember who it was, but made the comment that you almost needed a law degree. And that's exactly why this was an assignment. So many faculty and so many people that have access to literature don't understand the legal use of academic access, and understand what open access means and the vulnerabilities of open access versus the Teach Act or copyright laws. So if you found this to be a little overwhelming and complex, that was the whole point, was to heighten your awareness. I don't expect you to know it all, but I do want you to know that as you're using material from the internet as a professional educator, that you need to be very aware of whose work you're using and whether you're appropriately citing it and sharing ownership of it. So just make sure that you came away from this assignment not overwhelmed, but have a heightened level of awareness. And now you know where to look. Certainly no, I don't remember all the policies and procedures. So every time I develop a course, I have to go back in and read it. So my apologies if it made your head hurt. Back to my original point of biblical integration. Your classmate Wendy did a beautiful job in really putting into context of biblical integration within her discussion board. Wendy wrote, the Lord desires that we conduct ourselves to bring him glory. In our work, we are to work as if God is our boss, not man. This is in parentheses, the New International Version, Colossians 3:23. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus was questioned regarding if it was correct to pay taxes. They were trying to trick him with regard to loyalty between God the Father and Caesar, who in that culture was considered to pagans to be like a god. Jesus replied to them that they should give to God what is God's and to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Matthew 22, verses 15 through 22. In this story, the discussion is about money, not laws, but translates the message of following the law of our current day in this frame of reference. Therefore, it's the writer's opinion that we are to follow the law which is not in violation of God's commandment and apply due recognition and payment for borrowing the work of others in our educational endeavors. The man who walks uprightly demonstrates the fear of the Lord, and conversely, devious ways are a demonstration of hatred to the Lord. Proverbs 14:2. Followers of Jesus are called to be upright and holy. To be blameless followers of God, copyright laws cannot be knowingly violated. What a beautiful way of reminding us, first and foremost, that we're God's child. And we're accountable not just to the laws of the land, but ultimately to God's law of acting with integrity and doing the right thing. And this is a beautiful way of really weaving in the biblical integration into understanding how that applies to us as Christian nurse educators when we're dealing with copyrighted materials that do belong to the original authors. So I think Wendy did a fantastic job, and I think this is a good exemplar of what I'd like to see you be able to work through and work toward as you develop your writing skills with biblical integration. Okay, that being said, quick and dirty for the integrated literature review, I sent this to you at the beginning of the week. Remember, folks, your topic needs to be related to nursing education. And that gives you a wide host of ideas. But think about the things about nursing education that you don't know a lot about, that you want to become a pretty good expert on. I would discourage you from using topics that you already know a lot about, because that doesn't make the activity purposeful. The idea is that you become a content expert in an area of nursing education. So as you process your PICO and you think about what your problem is going to be, think prickly about the things you want to know more about, and be excited about that so that your endeavor in the literature excites you and engages you in a meaningful way. I don't want this to be a check the box outcome. Remember that as you start the framework of this patient, it is a progressive page or paper. Part 1 is going to be submitted this week. In a few weeks, Part 2 will be submitted. When you submit Part 2, Part 1 is going to be attached to it. So you're going to each time add the second part and then the third part so that when your third submission is done, you've got a whole paper and it's complete. Knowing that, I want to encourage you to set up your APA early on correctly. Plan on getting your title page squared away, using your page headers, and use level headings to organize your writing. If you don't use level headings appropriately in this paper, it is going to be a train wreck for you to be able to keep up of where you are as you move through Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. Use your APA manual. There are resources under the additional resources under your content tab that are specific to APA to support your success. Use those so that when you are done with this body of work, you will feel like it is the capstone it should feel like, and you'll be excited by it and you'll be proud of it. Know that I'm here. Know that if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm super excited to see how creative you all were with your portfolios. So many of you were brave and put nice pictures. It's so valuable to share who you are in a portfolio and allow it to be meaningful. Same thing with your integrated literature review. When you close out 620, you should step back from this course and say, there it is. Ta-da! I'm fabulous. And your portfolio and your integrated literature review should be the products you walk away from being able to say, I got something meaningful out of this journey and out of this endeavor. And that's my prayer for you. I truly pray you all have a wonderful week, that you have lots of excitement. Again, tomorrow is Veterans Day. If you are a veteran, love a veteran, support a veteran, God bless you. I'm so glad that you're there. My dear husband is a Navy veteran, and my son is currently serving in the Navy in A school. So we're a Navy family, but we love all of you out there. So just know that tomorrow there'll be a special prayer said for you from our house. Y'all take care.